What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We got a lot to talk about tonight, including U.S. bases in Europe on high alert for possible T attack, according to the Department of Defense. Now, we have actually been talking about over the last 6 months all of the different warnings. A lot of our community really doesn't stress too much because a lot of people just don't trust anything coming out of their mouths. They think we're just getting scared. But at the same might, a lot of these things that have happened, the bigger events have been used to shape not only laws and bills and different acts that have actually changed our lives fundamentally. And this is all in the name of our protection, right? So these kind of big events, I would not be surprised if a larger event happened, and especially in this time frame. This is what many in our community have been predicting for a very long time. Now, if you're afraid of this kind of stuff, then this is probably not the show for you. Again, if you think this kind of stuff is fear-mongering, then again, if you don't like scary movies, don't watch scary movies. I'm here to tell my opinion, and I don't try to sugarcoat what I think is about to happen. At least I don't try to change my opinion to appease somebody else. So again, it says that U.S. military bases throughout Europe have been put on heightened alert status due to a potential T attack. And it says there is credible intel pointing to an attack against U.S. bases over the next week or so. A U.S. defense official told Fox News' Lucas Tomlinson. Now, we have seen these kind of warnings go out, and when they do go out, well, there was warnings like this from the DOD. I think it was the DOD. I could be wrong. Maybe it was the Pentagon or another. Maybe it was UK. But there was intelligence that something was going to go down in Russia, right? Well, it was basically said that something in the next 72 hours or 24 hours or 48 hours, be careful, and it was watch out for concerts and this kind of thing. Well, we waited 48 hours, we waited 72 hours, nothing happened. But within the month, something big did happen. In fact, it was almost exactly what they warned. It just wasn't in the time frame that they warned about. It says the official, who declined to be identified because he was not authorized to speak to the media, did not elaborate on the nature of the threat, but confirmed it is not tied to the French Pick the Prez Day that just went down, and obviously everybody's up in arms and throwing Molotov cocktails. We're going to talk about this and so much more on tonight's episode of Marfoogle TV, and some weird stuff, so stick around. We'll be right back. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Even when we on high alert, I never heard them speak a word, and I don't know why. Oh, even when all right, so this is an important part. It says it again says that the U.S. bases have raised the status of the alert level to, quote, Force Protection Charlie. I don't know if that's breaks down to an FPC, but which means the Pentagon has received credible intelligence indicating some form of attack is in the works. Now, I know that everybody just really doesn't know what to believe at this point. The official said that the U.S. military bases in Europe have been placed on high alert, but not a lockdown. As far as this goes, this kind of sounds pretty eerie, and it sounds very familiar to previous threats. Now, this isn't going to affect us here, but if you are watching the news and watching what is happening in France, there's a lot of craziness going on in Europe. And when the crazy comes to Europe, history shows that soon it comes to us. So again, pay attention. This is a big one. So let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, of course, we've had many different threats and different things and alerts and different press releases, but this one's pretty specific.
Yeah, this is the second highest level. So there's the normal level, which there's no known enemy threat. And there's the alpha, which is a possible threat of T-type activity. Then there's Bravo, which I would assume is where they might have been before this, which is an increased and predictable threat. And then there's Charlie, which is what they've come to now, which is an imminent, meaning it's about to happen. And then there's Delta, that's the highest, which means it is localized or specific attack or threat is happening, I would assume at that point. So we're right there at the highest, pretty much the highest level without the event going down.
And remember, this person's and every time that somebody comes out like this and says this, why is it being said? That's the big question. Is this person saying it? Is this on purpose? Many times we question this because if this person goes to the news and says this information, say they're high up, they have top security clearance. Well, if they go to a reporter, say if they did this in front of even one coworker and that coworker said, hey, that guy just went to the media and told top secret information, then that person would be treasonous. This would be a traitor to our country. But it happens all the time. This is something I've pointed out a million times. It is always somebody familiar with the subject or somebody who is not at liberty to speak or wish to be anonymous. These are all people that are giving up our top secret info to our media. Now, the reason why none of us really complain is because the people want to know. Civilians want to know what the heck is going on. So it's not like we're up in arms protesting, like saying this guy should be fired. But this happens all the time. Now, the reason why I think it's always something to take with a grain of salt or to look at it in a different light is because why would somebody take that risk? Unless there's a couple options, unless there's something extremely, extremely scary coming. And this is a big, big deal, and they genuinely wanted to get it out, and they're, afraid that something bad's going to happen, so they got it out there. Maybe it helped prevent it. I don't know. Or the government agencies are actually telling him to do it, and they're doing like a purposeful leak, right? Putting it out, but they can't just put it out because then they'll be asked a million questions about it. I don't know. This is pretty creepy to say the least. And if you have family in the military, first of all, thank you for their service and thank you for your service. But I'm praying that I'm praying that this is not true. Dex, go ahead.
In this particular instance, I think that what he's doing is reporting what every other soldier would know. So it's common knowledge, but he doesn't want his name out there because he's not authorized to speak. So he's sharing a piece of information that's public or presumably at some level going to be obviously well known, but not in a position where he has the right to talk and answer questions or go or elaborate any more than just stating that piece of fact. But you're right. They will tell people and they will even assign them, hey, you can go say this, but you can't talk and you can't do it and you can't say your name or you have to do it anonymously. And that is even part of the PR process and managing that information. So a lot of times, it's not just, you may think it's somebody doing us all a favor, but a lot of times they're telling them to do that intentionally because they don't want to be able to say it was official. They want to be able to say it was unofficial, and they can then, change the story later if they need to.
They can also gauge the response of people. They can also use it for propaganda. They can also scare people into thinking one way or the other. The one thing we don't really know, and I'm sure that 99% of people don't understand, is that almost everything is psychological in this day and age, especially with the internet. People don't realize that this fun, awesome tool is truly being used on such a deep and crazy, in-depth 4D chess kind of way. And everybody here in this audience pretty much knows that, but the majority of people really just don't want to think that that's even true, that they're being manipulated on a daily basis. that they are being divided, that they are being tricked into hating each other, or tricked into thinking that, they're right and everybody else is wrong, and vice versa. We're heading towards something massive. I can see the framework being built. I know that most of you can as well. Dex, go ahead.
It's funny. Before the internet, they only had, a handful of radio stations and 3 channels on your primetime viewing, and they were able to program everyone. Now it's scattered, and they've got to deal with all these different networks and all these different factions, and they've got all these outside influences that are able to program us. And yeah, it's a totally different world. It was a lot easier for them right before the internet came along.
See, I don't know though. I think that it's harder for them, but at the same time, it's like they can get more done because they're not generalizing it. When they used to put out something on Channel 5 and everybody would be sitting in front of their TV, it'd be kind of a general programming. If they wanted to get some sort of thing across, everybody would have kind of that general level. Now they can personalize it. They can change your comments. They can change your video. They can change what you see as reality. And they can do it on such a crazy personal level. And now with AI, they don't have to have human beings behind this. They can just basically set it up as, a built-up program and then have it look at each individual person and do it all on its own. Every person's algorithm, it seems to be different now. We showed this with Instagram. Instagram not only customizes what you see as far as the videos that you're seeing for you type of thing, but it was also changing. 2 exact people, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, are watching the same exact video, and they're seeing different comments and different opinions in the first 80 pages of comments. So from the male point of perspective, you're seeing, say the video is a man and a wife arguing. They're going to show the male all of the comments that support, the male in the video. They show the female every comment that basically backs up the woman. And this is just a basic example, and it's one that has been used lately because there was a real instance of this where it shows this. That means that they're not only programming what you see, they're also programming what you think others are thinking about it. People read the comments. They don't even watch the video. I have proved this with my own videos. They go off the title and the thumb and then the first few comments, and then they don't watch the actual video. They make comments off of another comment of somebody who didn't actually watch it either, and they get all huff and puff like they know everything when they didn't even see the content of the video. So they actually look dumber than the first commenter that, sounded like they knew what they were talking about, but they didn't even watch the video. And this happens across the board on almost every platform. Every platform that has a For You page or something like this, now they're going a step further, and they're telling you what people around you are thinking. And you think that you're in this pact of, oh, well, me and everybody else is common sense, and all these people are stupid. But in reality, they're telling everybody, including if there's somebody on the opposite end of a party as you, if you believe this, I'm on this hand and they're on this hand, they're being fed the same way. They're being fed content that reassures and basically compacts all of their views and says, I'm right, these people are wrong, I'm right, these people are wrong. So think about that when you're so mad at that other side. Understand that they are literally thinking that they are right. And it's sad because we've lost this human connection of like actually giving the benefit of the doubt and loving that person for who they are. Now you can't see past their political views or their opinions. And that is because I think they're heavily being controlled, and I don't think there's another way to put it. But if you have another way to put it, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Speaking of which, let's go over to the chat and let's say hello to all the wonderful people here. Surgery68. Again, if you guys haven't checked out Wages World, I missed out on joining his members only stream. I wish I would have been able to join him. But I just want to say hi to you and to Rip Curl and Trinity and all the wonderful mods. Thank you guys for, of course, doing what you do. Of course, Joe Shields from Boston, Daniel Sen, we've got Viv B, we've got Comet Moon from OHIO. And then, of course, Tenino Washington, local in the house. What's going on, Joe? Surgery68, Faith Parent from Yosemite, California. From South Texas, Johnny Gonzalez, Tammy Driver, Kimbria, Briar Patch, hey, Ginger Ninja, James Hilly, Buck, Mr. Fiden, and of course Tracy Coup. We've got Ragnar Adventures, Yoga with Denise from New York, Woodinville, Washington. Hey, Baron, nice to see you again. Black Sheep from SoCal, and a lot of people from California. And then Utah, Alicia DMD, Ryan Alter, and Leslie Lindsay from Eastern Oregon. We've got Missouri in the house. We've got Essex, UK. Laura in the UK. Nice to see you. Super, super awesome to see you guys. You know what I've noticed? Everybody in the UK always puts like something in the UK on these platforms, but they never put like, like Essex, right? Or Essex this or that. Whereas you see people here, they'll do screen names with their city name or this or that. But UK screen names are always just in general like they're in Europe. I think it's because they pretty much look at us Americans and go, well, I just tell them I'm in the UK. London, UK. We've got a lot of folks from the UK here. And then Broken Rent, Sean C, and so many more. Nice to see you guys. All right. And Walla Walla, Washington. Oh, you're by the... isn't there the women's prison out there in Walla Walla? I think there's probably both. And then Catherine D, Alan G, and Mr. Wilson out of Cowtown. Well, super awesome to have all of you guys here. Let's go back to the map. We have, of course, Belarus issues nuclear threat amid rising tensions at the Ukraine border. Dex, do you want to go over what is going on over there?
So Belarus on Sunday issued a nuclear threat against the border at Ukraine, and specifically because of the threat that they feel of the soldiers that have been amassing from UKR's side along there. It said the country will be prepared to use non-strategic nuclear weapons, aka tactical weapons, and if its sovereignty and independence are threatened. And this is coming from Pavel Marfoogle. I'm sure I'm butchering the name. He's appointed the chief of the general staff of the country's armed forces and first deputy minister. The quote is, "We learned how to handle these weapons. We know how to apply them confidently. We are able to do it, and you can be sure we will do it if the sovereignty and independence of our country is threatened." That's what Morawiecki said. This was in an interview on TV. Specifically, though, the situation that they have is that Belarus is saying there's a whole lot of buildup of troops on their border. And if you look on a map, Belarus borders on the southern side of Belarus is bordered against UKR. On the western side of Belarus is bordered against Poland. And then, of course, the rest of it on the east is in the northeast side is Russia. And then, of course, you got the Baltic states over in the northwest. So anyway, they're specifically talking about this troop buildup coming in from UKR. And they're suggesting that if any of those troops, because Russians do use Belarus as a launching ground, definitely a training ground, but we've saw in the early days, they actually would launch out of Belarus. So the thought is, if there are Russians or any target, if you want to call it that UKR may try to strike inside Belarus against Russians, then Belarus is going to use that as a sign of aggression towards their country, their sovereignty, their independence, and they're willing, as they say, to use the tacticals that have been given to them. Now, I don't know how they're going to do that because they're supposed to be under the control of Russia and just parked there. But apparently they claim they've been trained to use them and they can use them. I think, Putin would have to green light that. At least that's the theory you would expect. But maybe, who knows? Maybe they have full autonomy over using them.
Yeah, and with Belarus, I think that a lot of people don't really take their president seriously. They pretty much, everybody I've heard talk about them thinks that Lukashenko is just a puppet of Vlad's. But again, Vlad is most likely a puppet of Xi's. So who is actually giving all of the orders for all of these folks? Speaking of Xi, of course, let's go back over the map. China deploys an aircraft carrier off the Philippine coast amid tensions with the South China Sea. As far as we have talked about how our aircraft carriers have gone over there, now China is deploying one of their aircraft carriers over to the Philippines. Is this going to get spicy? We don't quite know yet. But you've, of course, all of the interactions that China and the Philippines have had, most recently, or most of them, have been with the Coast Guard, not with the carrier. If a carrier posts up in the same kind of areas that they've had the Coast Guard, again, harassing the Philippines, and I say harassing because I don't know what it actually goes down outside the hosing and the stopping and interruptions. What if they end up starting to do this with the carriers? What if they start doing the same kinds of actions, only with a lot more firepower? Chester Gabalza, let's go into the important part. Let's see, a minimal-based think tank said that the carriers patrol was an example of performative politics by Beijing that could become a frequent event. If so, it would mean that there is a wavy flag on their national security. He said, adding that once we see massive military force, that means Beijing is preparing for a war. So it is their opinion that once they actually start seeing all of these huge carriers and navy being put into place, that it's time for war. Look at the timing of all of this. Many of us in this community have been saying this is the time period right now. With what is going on in the U.S., I do not think that what is going on here in the U.S., what is going on in France, what is going on in Venezuela, what is going on in Russia, what is going on in Israel, I don't think that these are all separate events. There is a string, just like one of those investigative boards where they tie the little string to thumbtacks. There's a string connecting all of it. And for those that can't see it, I would say it's going to be visible pretty soon here. And all of this string that is a solid single string being wrapped around these thumbtacks, it's going to connect all of the adversaries that we have right now. And of course, we already know all of the allied countries are already prepped for this. They've been drilling for this. Now you see the adversaries actually putting it into writing what exactly they're going to do. I more want to go over again, just to reiterate, in this community, sometimes I forget, like, let's get back to basics. What is this community and the people that are watching this show? I hope that we're all trying to think about what we're going to do if the worst case scenario happens. That is the point of this, is news from a prepper's standpoint. So if you're new here, I hope that you at least try to listen long enough to really consider having a basic plan with your friends and family, to have extra food and water, to have these kind of things done, because we have watched the framework for all of these different events since 2016, 2017, and every time when you see the framework, you end up seeing the event. There is so much framework for a massive war and for major global changes that there's no way that even if not a single shot is fired, that our world is not going to be changing in the next 6 years. So people need to be prepared for absolutely anything, and especially what is going on in the U.S., what is going on in France, what's going on in all of these places. People really think this is unconnected. It's a daily basis driving towards something that we know is going to happen. And I think the only thing that explains why people don't think it is either denial or extreme optimism, because right now it shouldn't be a fear thing. It should be a mentally prepared for thing. It should be I'm getting a basic plan. I'm going to start slow. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. Because when it really comes down to it, when all this goes down, everybody in this community, most likely you'll be disconnected and disconcerted from each other. We need to have all of our kind of ducks in a row. And you don't have to do it all overnight. But I would say it's not getting any further away. And I believe that we are going to see some major events, possibly even in the next week, but definitely in the next 5 months. So if you agree with me, let me know why you agree with me. If you disagree with me, let me know why you disagree. Why do you think it's going to be so much farther out or doesn't exist at all? I'd love to hear varying opinions, because I know, just like everybody else, there's echo chambers that they put me in as well. So I like thinking outside the box as well. The Paracel Islands, this whole area, obviously China used to do this, and when they would do this, the U.S. would send 3 carriers and Clinton sent 3 carriers, and China was like, whoa, 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 buddies, we were just playing, don't worry about it. We were just joking around. It was just roughhousing. Now they sent 5, and China didn't even blink. They're the largest navy in the world. They're trying to catch up in nukes. They're building the largest air force, and they're doing it with. They say, "Oh, if it's built there, it's going to fall apart." Well, they're using our IP. We know that they stole plans and blueprints and all of these things. They have infiltrated most of the government, if not all of the governments of the world, and they have one of the largest armies of cyber military that any country has. A million strong that are sitting on a computer just trying to shape what the world thinks. So I would highly recommend being ready for anything at this point. Now they're not going down this scared route, and they're really pushing. And now they have no limits partners all over the world who are equally crazy. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fun 5 years, but we can all get through it if we try. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is our recommendation. Again, if you want to be able to get home to your family, if you are far away, if you work 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, that 10 miles could turn into a literal, forever between you and your family. Especially if you have to walk it during the first 3 hours of a major disaster, let alone the first 24 hours, let alone the first 72 hours. It will be absolute craziness. The best bet you have during any kind of bad disaster, whether that be a storm or whether it be a flood or tornado, is being able to act very, very fast. And within the first few hours, some say the first 3, 24, 72, it's really important that you are able to meet up with your family, figure out a spot to meet up, and do that. With, of course, this device, you can protect your vehicles so they can still run, so they can still get home. It's very easy to wire in 3 wires, red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and, of course, green to ground or part of your chassis. And then, of course, you are set. In less than 10 minutes, your car will run after a Carrington-level event from the sun. Again, solar cycle 25, good idea. Or multiple EMP strikes from an adversary. An EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, could knock out our entire grid. Again, not on top of that, it will knock out infrastructure, water, gas. So always keep your gas topped up, and if you can, get yourself protected against these events. That's marfooglenews.com/EMP. When you use the code MARF, you're getting $50 off, and you are helping us with a commission. You're helping an independent channel. At the same time, you're not just donating and giving us money. You are actually getting something that you get to keep, will make you safer, get you home or get you out, and you're helping independent media that is against behemoths right now. So thank you guys for doing that. Mostly, though, share us with a friend or family member. You want to get prepared. Choose wisely the episode you do. If you really curtail it to what you think that they might find is important, wait until there's an episode that you think that they think would be important. Well, I'm pretty confident that if they stick around for more than 20 minutes, then they'll be at least interested enough to hear us out. And then Estonia says it could hold out against Russian attack for a couple of weeks before NATO arrives. Well, Dex, we know that they kind of changed thing in NATO so that it would already be set up, but they're saying a couple weeks. That's not that long, though.
Well, yeah, that's not very long, but at the same time, that is pretty long when you think about how small Estonia is and the fact that they think they can survive 2 weeks, But I guess part of this is how quick do they expect, or do they think NATO will respond, or do they need NATO to respond? And maybe that's part of this is trying to understand that, because they won't. Everybody sort of looks at those Baltic states and just says between mainland Russia and Kaliningrad, which on the map there you'll see is right in smack dab in the middle, and that's part of Russia. They think they're just going to pinch right through and close that off and do it quickly. And that's why the Baltic states will take the first hit. So that's the question, that's the big threat that everybody's sort of worried about, is when Russia comes through that northern area, through the Baltics to get to Kaliningrad at the north side of Poland there, how will NATO respond, and how will NATO be able to prevent that? And I think the ability for them to survive a period of time, 2 weeks, probably not long enough, but that's what they're claiming. What do you think, Adam?
Well, I mean, we're not going to know how long they're going to be able to hold out until it happens, but I think a couple weeks is realistic. If you look at what happened with Russia and Ukraine didn't have any of the stuff that we all saw the news covering about how they didn't have this, they didn't have that. They didn't have any of that stuff. I don't know what Estonia has. I don't know what their military looks like. It might be fun to look at what like Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia have compared to all of their other kind of NATO allies. Like, what's the weakest link? And if we can find that out through just looking up on the internet, I'm sure Russia can too. Say if
4,000 active personnel.
4,000?
Yeah, only 37,000 in reserve.
Okay,
but 4,000 active.
Okay, and they think they can last weeks. That's what I said. Saying like that actually sounds like a long time for 4,000. All Russia would have to do is gather up 50,000 people. Boom, a football stadium worth of troops. Which, heck, they gathered what 500,000 a few months ago. It's like 4,000, and then they would be able to go into Estonia. Does Estonia have? Do they have massive artillery? Like, what is their strengths? Like, what is their... You look at the weakest link in these and, like, think about how easy would it... If they got a foothold, say if they went into Estonia, just quickly took over, boom, they've got this. Then they've got Kaliningrad over here. Then they could work on Lithuania and Latvia. And this is, of course, assuming that they actually want to take all of this. There's a huge debate, but we don't actually know because there are... This Ganda coming from all different sides. China's implanting it. Russia's implanting it. I'm sure Belarus and all these other countries have small teams doing it. North Korea definitely does. They could be implanting with... I mean, have you guys seen these cell phone farms of these walls with cords that go up and connect hundreds of cell phones? These cell phones all represent a fake person. When they say bots, a lot of them too are actual programs and things that these countries are setting up to essentially just be a person to have an opinion. So when you see something ratioed, and you never know if it's actually being ratioed or if a certain country wants you to think that about that subject. But I guess we'll see. Hopefully we won't see, though. Hopefully we won't see at all.
Adam.
Go ahead.
Latvia was 9,000 and Lithuania was 20,000-ish, 23,000. But Lithuania did have a 14,000 paramilitary and another 28 active reserves.
Yeah, but are they going to if it's a surprise attack, are they going to have them just instant? I mean, especially, I guess here's the thing. We would see Russia, I'm sure they would watch, and Russia would have to be on the border putting their guys. Here's my prediction, is if you start seeing Russia say that they're doing exercises and load up stuff all along the border of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, that would be cause for concern. Just as they did with Ukraine, they would load up the drill first. Only they could do a rock, paper, scissors and throw in a scissors real quick. By this time not doing a drill, saying, ha, psych, it's just a drill, and actually doing a drill and going in right away. What do you think they would do strategically? That's even with all of the reserves. This is why, Dex, I thought that they were going to put NATO in there first of all, or right off the bat, that's what the changes they made to NATO, is that instead of whatever country was invaded, they would hold them off as long as they would call up NATO and say, hey, we're being invaded, and then NATO would send troops. They just changed things so that they would already have NATO in place. So maybe they're not telling us the full truth about how many NATO troops are already in Estonia, Latvia, and Estonia. Maybe that's why they say they can last a few weeks. Maybe they already have gear there and they're, now they're confident. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about NATO moles imposing a no-fly zone over Western Ukraine? history repeating itself.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. It's mostly UKR asking for this no-fly zone, which they've asked for since, February of 2022. This has been a long time ask. But what they were saying now is UKR officials have actually shifted their request to involve the establishment of the U.S. Patriot systems along the western border and to use that as an area to create protection. But they also then went on to say is they don't understand why NATO doesn't just deploy those systems along the Polish border and let them handle it from the Polish side. And they say, after all, Russian missiles have already entered Polish and Romanian airspace. This would protect the border of Poland and Romania, and this would create a safe zone in the west and south of UKR. So they're really pushing, again, with NATO and these conversations, obviously, with Zelensky and others, about what could they do. And, it's obvious, like, we understand, like, if you launch Patriots from inside Poland, they become targets of Russia. So Russia will then strike Poland, which will then require an Article 5 response from everyone else, and then will be an all-out war in Europe. That's the path that everybody sort of sees coming. It's just, is this the way we're going to get there? That's the question.
I think it's kind of obviously these things are modular. They have one green painted one here. Obviously, they can. I'm just fascinated how they actually move these things, put them together. Obviously, it looks like these are 4 different, parts, and they put them in kind of like Lego. That 4th one looks like it's painted for greenery, right? This system is so insane, and then it's a 3-part system. What do you think? Do you think that? Do you agree with Zelensky? And then North Korea condemns joint military exercise by South Korea, U.S., and Japan. When do they not condemn U.S., South Korea, and Japan? But the drills that they're doing, we've followed these. Every drill, including some of the weirder ones, they do the head, cut off the head of the snake drill, which Kim Jong-un really doesn't like. He's changed his actual constitution, or whatever he ends up calling it, to where now, even if he thinks that one of his staff or the top controlling members of his country are under threat or duress, that they will automatically fire nukes. And I believe, didn't they say that they were going to fire nukes at the U.S. just automatically? Wasn't that part of that whole thing?
Yeah, anybody that was involved, which is always the U.S.
Yeah, and so they've changed all that so that automatic, right? Well, they started doing a separate drill from the cut the head off the snake, which Kim Jong-un really doesn't like, which is a drill that they are responding to North Korea doing a first strike. Within a few weeks of that, North Korea actually practiced doing a first strike. Now, of course, you've got the back and forth with firing artillery. North Korean soldiers have actually walked onto South Korean mines and perished. You have balloons with crap on them, literal crap being flown over. You've got K-pop being played one side. You've got shots fired across the DMZ. And now this drill. The timing of it, people are worried about because of all of the other events that I just mentioned. North Korea criticized the trilateral Freedom Edge military exercise by South Korea, Japan, and the U.S. held between the 27th of June and 29th as provocative. I can't tell you how many times I've read Kim Jong-un say something is provocative. Said a statement by a department of the country's foreign ministry carried by the North Korean Central News Agency on Sunday. Pyongyang will not ignore the strengthening of a military bloc led by the U.S. and its allies and will protect regional peace with an aggressive and overwhelming response, the statement said. Now, remember, Russia just signed a treaty with them, so if anything happens to North Korea, it happens to Russia, and vice versa. If somebody attacks Russia, North Korea will be all up in it. So, again, we're watching to see if North Korea ends up joining the Russian-Ukraine conflict. If enough targets are hit inside of Russia, then technically North Korea is supposed to jump in and help. But what are they actually doing that agreement for if we're not seeing that? Maybe a future war that we haven't seen yet and hasn't even begun, or at least the hot portion of it. And let's see here. North Korea nearly hits its own capital in failed missile test. Now, I'm going to go over that, and then also I saw a video today that was supposedly China. Apparently, they were doing it. Yeah, I wonder if that video is the same thing, and they thought it was China, and it was that, or if they separately had their own flub up. I didn't think of that. But real quick, let me thank Carlton Sutton. Thank you. Tane, Ray Day, thank you. Ezekiel 3:8 and 3:9. Prayers. Hey, Ray Day, it's nice to see you, and thanks for popping in. Enigma, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super sticker. Carlton Sutton, thank you so much. And K. Parker Fraser, thank you guys for the super chats. I appreciate that. And over on DLive, thank you. Let's see here. Thank you, Kimbria. Thank you, Knock on Wood. And thank you, everybody else that just popped in. All right. And Steve McQueen, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate that. Okay. And let's see here. So North Korea, they say, nearly hit its own capital in a failed missile test. An abortive North Korean missile fired on Monday may have endangered the nation's capital after the South's military said one of the rockets fell short of its intended target. The Joint Chiefs of Staff in Seoul said it detected two short-range ballistic missiles fired 10 minutes apart, 5:05 and 5:15 a.m. local time, from the Gyeonggi area in North Korea's southwestern province of South Hangwei. It says the North Korean embassy in Beijing did not immediately return written request. The launch event was a possible show of force towards South Korea following its recent war games alongside the United States and Japan, the ones we were just talking about. Kim Jong-un's government says similar U.S.-led exercises near the Korean Peninsula threaten his country's survival. South Korea said that the first missile flew 370 miles before splashing down in the sea off the northeastern city of Gyeonggi, about 65 miles southwest of its triple border area with Russia and China. But the second missile, also headed northeast, traveled only 75 miles. It was likely that the projectile landed near Pyongyang. South Korea's Yonhap news agency said the North's capital is about 65 miles east of Yongin. It said that it is difficult to know exactly where the short-range missile hit. We believe it may have gone down towards Pyongyang, the agency quoted. Lee Sung-jun, a spokesman for South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, later told the briefing that an analysis of the second launch was underway. North Korea and its state news outlets have yet to acknowledge a test fire, but the isolated regime may have been attempting to repeat a precision strike demonstration it conducted some 15 months ago. So one thing I want to point out, Dex, did you see the video of people were saying it was a Chinese rocket, and I'm just curious if it couldn't have been this one, because there was a video, and maybe it could have been old. There was no info on it, but it was a video I just saw before the show of, they say that China accidentally launched a rocket during a engine test. So they were just trying to test the engines, and it accidentally launched. It went up, and then it crashed down. The crazy part is when you see it crash down, it is like a nuke going off. And I'm sure it probably wasn't even armed. It's just the fuel in these rockets are so explosive that this thing, when it did blow up, you're waiting for it. Whoever has a cell phone miles away, you can hear it. It's kind of like the Beirut thing. It's like boom, and it looks like the guy's knocked onto his butt. Dex, does China have?
Yes, that was their I just looked it up. That's their SpaceX competitor, and they were doing a test, and it went. They had an anomaly, a slight anomaly. Put it in Elon's terms, right?
Yeah. And it landed right next to the launch pad. And I'm thinking, did people perish? Like, it was such a crazy explosion. It went up. They weren't prepared for it to even leave the launch pad. Videos like that, of course, cement people like, oh, well, it's China built, right? Yeah, they do have those kind of things, but I still don't think that means that they can't make the good stuff either. Somebody wasn't doing their job right. And then North Korea switches TV transmission to Russia's satellite from Chinese. Dex, what the heck?
All right, so a couple things here. And Adam, if you could refresh the map when you get a chance while I'm doing this, because I got an update later in the show. But look, there's a couple of angles here. The national television broadcast that they do, they were using a Chinese satellite to distribute that through their nation, and that got cut off. It went dark. It went dark to the people in South Korea that monitor them, like the military and their intelligence groups, as well as the media, like, any of the major media companies. They would watch and monitor that to try to get what little bit of news you can get out of North Korea from that. So it's gone. Well, what happened is they switched to a Russian satellite instead of a Chinese served satellite. So the question now becomes, is this part of the deal they were making with Russia? And is this a slight at G? And is it trying to show that there's a stronger relationship being built between North Korea and Russia? Because, China always had a strong influence over North Korea. And the only time they really dissented against them was when it came to the nuclear stuff. They were the ones, they were the only people that would really push back on North Korea and say, hey, you guys should back off the nuclear testing. So that was the one thing China actually sided with the West on against North Korea. So that could be part of it. The other thing is it could just be a ploy to move and make some of their information more private. And by using the satellite, it may be more difficult for South Korea to pick it up and understand what may being broadcast to the public there. And they may be hiding that intentionally. So one of those two things is my opinion of what this is. But the fact is they switched from ChinaSat 12 to a Russian satellite system.
What about this? What if China can now play dumb? What if, I don't know if there's anything else that goes through through these broadcasts or through this satellite? What if other things other than just the TV broadcasts were going through the same satellite? What if China can now wash its hands? If North Korea ends up doing a big event, they can say, well, it wasn't on our satellite. We would have caught it and we would have let everybody know it was going on. What if there's other transmissions that go through the satellite and now they can say, oh, well, we didn't know about it. They actually switched off of our satellite. They switched over to Russia. And Russia's already on the list, so nobody, it's not going to matter to them. But is this a way that China can go, oh, nope, we didn't know that they were planning on doing that, or we didn't know this was going on because we don't have access to that anymore? I don't know. It's a big question, like why? I think that China is giving Russia orders. So it's kind of like, is it all for looks? Is it for actual, efficiency and for better results? I don't know. You would think that China would be the better use of that. They have a better system. I don't know though. Who has a better system now? I would think Russia. Actually, Russia's had satellites longer than, who has more satellites up in the sky now? We've been covering that China's been launching like crazy and trying to match even SpaceX and all of these other satellite systems. Huh. So it makes you wonder why did they switch? And is it just TV transmission? If anybody knows the answer to this, if they're in broadcasting, like what else could be broadcasted through those systems, let me know in the chat. And before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace Medical. This is a recommendation. If you are, again, going to prepare for a disaster, this is probably already on your list, is getting yourself some backup antibiotics. Now, Jace is a very easy service to use. You get to talk to a board-certified doctor through a telehealth appointment. Well, we still have the wonderful internet. There are really great things you can do like this, which is you do a telehealth appointment. You can get yourself a Jace case, which is basically an entire kit of life-saving meds and antibiotics all in a handy-dandy pouch. Or you can go get Jace Daily. Now, not everybody is going to be able to get Jace Daily, but a lot of people that have regular medications that you take every day, they can actually get a 12-month extended supply of it. So what that means, A disaster happens tomorrow. You can't go to the hospital. You can't go to the ER. You can't go to the pharmacy. The pharmacies are down. A major hack took everything down. There's no power. There's no gas. There's no water. No nothing. You'll have a year of your regular medications. If you take regular medications that do, in fact, save your life every single day and that are extremely important, then it's probably something that you should look at. And it's a rotating service, so you're always going to have 12 months of fresh meds, depending on what it is. You'll have to go there to learn more. But you can always rotate that into your normal prescriptions, so you'll always have a year supply of extra meds. So Jace Daily is definitely a great recommendation, especially if you're a caregiver and you have somebody that you care for. If they don't have a backup, it's definitely a good thing to have. Antibiotics, as far as a tiny cut, can turn into a life-changing event. Gangrene, infections, all sorts of things can happen without modern-day antibiotics. If you have that, that's a really, really great start. Again, Jace Case and Jace Daily over at marfuglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. That will get you a discount, and it will help our independent channel at the same time. All right, and then thanks, Julie C. We've got the Infinite Process, Big Chase. Angelo Perfelli, nice to see you. Let's see here. We've got Darren, thank you so much. T-Cal, Sepsis, exactly. Yeah, and thank you for the folks that have been here every day this week. I saw a couple names, and I'm like, you guys have literally made it every day. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for sharing us out. Soldier Girl, does the ganj help with those pesky infections? I don't think so, but maybe enough of it you'll think it does, and then you'll manifest healing. I don't know, but pretty sure you might want to talk to a doctor about that. For William, Texas, what has happened in Slim Shady 76? We've actually talked about that card game many times, but I haven't done like a solo show on it. You are correct. We haven't done a solo show, but we've covered it many times, and all of the things that card game has predicted are really, really creepy. All right, and back to the map. We've got precious rare earth metals belong to the state, China declares. Didn't see this one coming. Our community didn't call this like 100%, 1,000%. 50 million, gajillion, trizillion %. Oh, it didn't load right here. Dex, do you want to read it? Mine didn't load.
Yeah, no problem. So the Chinese government has introduced a slew of new measures designed to tighten up its grip on the lucrative natural resources used in everything from electric cars to wind turbines. So think about those rare earth minerals, those precious rare earth minerals that are part of our supply chain. And it's why things like, a lot of the tech that we buy, lithium batteries, et cetera, are all coming out of China because it's the only place you can get them, and they have a monopoly on them. Well, one of the things that they did was they've created a new rule that declares that all rare earth metals are the actual property of the state, and warned, quote, no organization or person may encroach on or destroy rare earth resources. So they have made it clear in a new law that any of that material found anywhere there is the property of the state, making sure that no one feels like they can own it. Everyone understands it's not theirs. It's 100% part of the government, just the way they operate there. But obviously, this is a very important component when you think about how ingrained all of this is into everything in technology today and a lot of the future stuff that we're building. So for them to put this in place, I mean, on one hand, you'd sort of say, well, China owns everything that they own anyway. They own all their businesses. They can control them if they need to. But this is just putting the heavy hand in up front, making sure it's real crystal clear.
And as far as Lindsey Graham made a comment about Ukraine just the other, like 2-3 weeks ago, and made a comment, says, well, you know that Ukraine has 10 to 12 trillion dollars worth of minerals that they're sitting on top of, and we don't want Russia to get their hands on that money. It would be real bad if they got that hands on the money. And it really brings out this fact, like, oh, ding, ding, ding. Like, everybody already guessed that. A lot of people guessed it's because of the farmland. When you look at actual Ukraine, I've done this a million times, you could zoom in anywhere. Go to the whole country, corner to corner, and you zoom in, you'll see farmland. It's the entire country is freaking farmland. So you would think, oh, maybe it's the soil and the future of food. You do see all of these rich elites buying up farmland. It's like food is going to be the war of the future, right? Food and water, and lithium. I wonder how much lithium and minerals of lithium is there. So I wonder if Ukraine isn't just farming all of this, but it's also the minerals and also this. What if they have, just unbelievable, way more than 10 or 12 trillion, but tons more? Then it explains it. I mean, everything that happened in the Middle East, we knew it was kind of because of oil. Now you see the U.S., which has always been super tight with Saudi Arabia and all of these oil countries. All of a sudden, now Saudi Arabia is not answering our calls. They're rolling out the red carpet for Xi. China, all of them, they're all still, working the oil tip, totally good friends of them. We are not. And we're also in this bid to push out fossil fuels and to bring in this whole lithium thing. But why? China controls a giant portion of the lithium. And it makes you think, with everything that's gone on in the last 5 years, it makes you think that part of this whole push is because if we switch over to this, which maybe we don't need to necessarily, or there's no reason other than if you push it over to all of this, then one country is going to be number one. I mean, if we all switch to electric, look at China. They're hoarding everything. They're hoarding gold. They're hoarding corn. They're hoarding wheat. They're holding all these stuff. They're also strategically placing themselves to grab all the chips, the electronics. They have a surplus. We covered this. They have a massive, massive surplus of solar panels, and they control almost all of the rare earth minerals that go into lithium battery making, which it goes hand in hand with solar and all of the stuff that we're supposed to be changing over to. It seems kind of obvious to me if we make this switch. Oh yeah, good for the planet. Also good, very good for China. I mean, what if it's the most common sense answer? They control 90-something% of it. If we switch over to this, who are we going to be beholden to? And you see the U.S. turning down these pipelines and things to make us more reliant. Oh, they sabotage that. So then we are more reliant on trying to switch over to this stuff. They're trying to switch. What do you guys think of that? I know it's just a side theory here, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And 90. Well, okay. It says the EU imports 93% of its magnesium from China, so over 90%. 98% of its borate from Turkey, and 85% of its niobium from Brazil. Russia produces 40% of the world's palladium. The latter is the reminder of the strategic implications of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the need for EU to prepare for an increasingly uncertain world. And they also say that that Africa is going to be the breadbasket of the future. I wonder if it's just as simple as that in Africa, in all these places where they're fighting all these crazy, crazy civil conflicts, that there's just straight up minerals there. And that's why they're going to be fighting. It's not for the people. It's not for the planet. It's for money. It's for power. It's for holding that carrot in front of the rest of the people of the world. They're going to have power over us. What do you guys think? And UKR thwarts alleged coup scheme, officials say. Dex.
Well, here's the latest story. They're blaming Russia on it, but coming out of Kiev, they said there was a potential coup. They've got 4 citizens who were charged by the local prosecutors over distributing materials calling for an overthrow of the government there. And of course, they're saying it all ties back to Russia, which, if it's true, it would make sense. I mean, it's not going to come out of, it's not going to be coming out of someplace else, but, or not necessarily their ally.
It's Norway.
Yeah. Now, if it was a three-letter agency in the U.S., that might make sense at a different time. Oh, wait, maybe they already did that. Sorry. But yes, that's what's happening. That's what they're claiming. That's the story. Kind of par for the course. We've heard these a few times, whether it's attempts to take them out or attempts to overthrow.
Did you see the? I don't know what it's a clip of, but it's a clip of Zelensky in like a conference room, and he's holding a chair, and some guy walks up and just kind of slowly grabs the chair from him and walks away with it. And then another woman like walks by, picks up a laptop in front of him, and like another person's walking this way, and then he's just sitting like standing there, like no chair, no computer, no sign. Have you seen that? It's been going around. It's been making this.
Is it real?
Yeah, it's real.
Okay.
He's standing in a conference room. Have any of you guys seen that? He's standing there. He's got his hands on the back of a chair, and then a guy slowly kind of walks up. You don't know what's said. He kind of holds the chair and pulls it away. I think the caption of the one I saw was "signs that it's over," and that was the caption. If you can find that, it's just like a picture's 1,000 words, right? Like. The symbol of it was pretty funny. Okay, and then thank you. Thanks again, Ray Day, Enigma. Thank you, Redonk. I appreciate that. In China, your own ideas are property of the state. Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't truly own anything. It's kind of like you lease it for however long you're alive, and then it's China's. I don't know if you can pass down stuff, but you can't truly own anything. And then if you are somebody who is not from China, I don't think you can own anything. You have to have like a sponsor or somebody from China to partner with you on businesses and all sorts of other things. Redonk, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Big shout out to Joanne Breeze, Bunny Ha, Brandon Lamb with Jerry Shirts, and then thank you Scott Dixon, Bible Talk 777, Meep 007, Nevitz, and Danish Girl. Hopefully you're doing well tonight. Stephen McMahon, My Annuity Store Inc. Thank you Lord McCormick, Andrew Golden. Hopefully you're doing well. Julie Pilkerton, Kat, Gillian Mason, Vibron, Linda C, Jen, and Stormhawk. It's been a minute. Hope you're doing well. And then Lola Cafe and, of course, Carl Mosher. Thank you, guys. Candy Cams, I hope you're still making your music. Thank you for your support this week. Appreciate that. And then Vladimir Putin to send Russian children to North Korean summer camps. Oh, my gosh. Like, cue the Jack Johnson music montage. Vladimir Putin plans to send Russian children to a summer camp in North Korea where activities include polishing the statues of leaders. Greg Gurov, the head of Putin's movement of the First Youth Organization, which totally sounds like something out of Nazi Germany, announced the plan despite the opposition that worried Russian parents. We will now form our delegation. Conditions there are good. This is so weird, too, considering what we think about North Korea. The children will be the first Russian group for 5 years to visit the Songdo-on camp, built on North Korea's eastern shore by dictator Kim Jong-un's grandfather in 1960. Accounts from the Russian adult leaders on previous trips described Songdo-on camp as a cross between a boarding house with regular blackouts, dawn wake-ups and roll calls, and a Disney-themed water park. So it's like a concentration mixed with Universal Studios. It's like Artem Samsonov, a former Communist Party official, visited the camp in 2015 before being imprisoned in 2022 for doing something horrible to a wee one. He said that the children were woken at 6:30 a.m. to clean the area in front of the statues of Kim's father and grandfather. We receive special attention. We're given not brooms, but special pads that were allowed to wipe the statue itself. So it sounds like they have them peel a bunch of potatoes or take a toothbrush and clean the floor type of thing and teach them a lesson. I wouldn't have any doubt that they have nice things in North Korea, and that they probably have for all the elite and the people that the top of the pyramid, that they probably have their kids treated like kings and queens and all of that. And I'm sure that the people that are in Kim Jong-un's personal party, they probably all live like kings and queens. But the regular people, whole different story. I guess if you toe the line, you probably have it okay. But yeah, Dex, I mean, what is that? Why would they do something like this? Why would they? Maybe it's to teach Russian children a lesson. Like they come.
Well, these are special. This is Putin created the movement of the first in 2022, a few months after the invasion of UKR, to instill Kremlin ideology among children. Its teenage members wear red berets and red neck scarves and are often seen carrying flags at official ceremonies. But of course, on social media, the parents have been learning that this may happen. They have been flooding the social networks with, all sorts of concerns about why would they go over there. And, and some are even upset. Some are upset about the areas. Others are just even go so far as to say, well, won't they just, walk through the jungle to South Korea and escape? But that's a very interesting thing.
Well, it makes you wonder. And then, yeah, is he getting these kids ready for a war in the future or something? I don't know. Is he trying to bond closer with them and have their personal kids go to summer camps with Kim Jong-un's family because they're all going to live in a communist nation? I don't know. But then you look at other countries' youth and what they're doing right now. They're in all sorts of, I guess they're, I guess some would say that maybe some of our youth kind of do need a little bit more harsher, not everybody wins a trophy type of thing, but I don't think they would go that far. And PG&E says power shutoffs could come to 8 Northern California counties due to fire danger. We have talked about this since the 8-day blackouts that happened. Dex, and did we get an update? It looks like we may have.
Well, yeah. So there's a handful of things going on with the weather right now that we got to talk about, and that's what's all here. And I added a couple things here, Adam. Thank you for reloading that. But yeah, look, we've got areas in the country that are completely in a drought and getting tons of heat. And in particular, there's one area here in California where you guys may be losing power. They may be turning the power off due to fire danger, due to the dry temperature, the dry heat that's been going on. So get prepared, be ready if you're in the northern sections of California, and get ready for that. Officials in the Oakland-based company said its meteorologists were forecasting an elevated risk for shutoffs in part of 8 Northern California counties: Colusa, Glen Lake, Napa, Shasta, Salina, Tehama, and Yolo. The power shutoffs are the first wildfire safety blackouts undertaken this year by PG&E. So, and you guys, we've covered them ad nauseum over the years, so just get ready. Now,
8 days, that's not 1 year. 8 days, some families went without power at all.
Yeah, it's, and so get ready. It's not just drought, and it's not just heat and fire warning, but now we've also got other extremes to the weather. So the first, or not the first, because it's got a B as its name, Beryl, but it's the first hurricane, I would say, probably second tropical storm. But the thing about this, it's already a Cat 5, which is unheard of, and it's also early in the season. It is so early, we don't see anything this strong this early. So what does that tell you guys? If you think about how these seasons work and the hurricane seasons, the fact that this thing just flipped tonight to a Cat 5, It's beating, one of the earliest ever hurricanes in the year. So we do have a map, just so you can see. It's way too early, guys. It's down in the Caribbean, or actually south of the Caribbean, maybe the Windward Islands or somewhere like that. It's going to go through the Gulf of Mexico. You can see on the map, if it tracks the way they're saying it's going to track, it'll go down over the peninsula there and hit into Mexico. But all of that is subject to change. That's a very long distance. It may weaken, it may strengthen, and more than likely it may even make some turns because there's a lot of time. That map is just what they know now, and it always changes as we get further along. But the point here, big weather stuff happening, big extremes. We've seen these extremes, and we're continuing to see them, whether it's with the sun, whether it's with, drought, whether it's with floods in the north, floods in Texas, dams on the verge of bursting, and here we have the earliest Cat 5 storm already in the water, barreling down towards North America.
My one of my thoughts is if this thing turns or veers, and all of these smaller places, right? Port-au-Prince, we've been talking about, all these places have had either China or Russia loading up people. Cuba has, we talked about the 200,000 Russian tourists and that they're talking about having military there. Havana, Port-au-Prince, Chinese land being purchased and being used for training and stuff. I don't know if that was Port-au-Prince, but near it, all these little islands. What if we see a massive disaster? Is that, if any of this is true, which most people believe it is, that certain countries may have certain tools at their disposal to cause certain things to happen, or may be able to now, with today's modern technology, control certain things. What if we see a massive disaster in the news? You see all the destruction is just nuts, and it may be like an unblame, who are you going to blame? In something like this, as of our knowledge, you can only blame God, right? It's the perfect weapon if somebody ever gets a chance to get a hold of it and control it. So, where if it hits somewhere, where does it hit? And will we notice that it just happens to hit somewhere that, changes the tides, so to speak? No pun intended, because I don't know if they do change the tides, but you guys get what I mean. I just wonder. And then tech company unveils tiny spheres that outperform solar panels using both sun and artificial light, which is nuts to add in artificial light. And the company says they could hit 60 times the current capacity. So this is actually cool in a way. Tech company unveils these tiny spheres that apparently are better than solar panels. Solar panels may be replaced by light-catching spheres if innovation companies Wavja's ingenious contraptions fulfill their potential. That's because the business, which has operations in New York City, says its experts have created tiny globes from a little more than an inch to nearly 4 inches in size that can harness both sunlight and, get this, artificial light to make electricity. Called a photon energy system, the tech uses multiple layers of cutting-edge materials in specialized spheres. So imagine this. You have a super low wattage 5-watt LED light that somehow then goes down to the sphere and creates more power. I mean, gosh, I would be almost worried about the inventors of this. Like, don't go on a business meeting and go sell your stuff because you might not come out. Dex, this is actually really cool, but at the same time, I mean, you're almost getting into the realm of like unlimited energy, right?
Well, yeah, you can't make power. You can't make more power from less power, or at least the theory is. So I think you may be able to harness the light, artificial light, to make power, but you can't produce the same. If you can't make 5 watts of light and then turn around and capture
what about
that
lasers?
Same 5 watts back. You can make whatever you can put out, you're going to be able to capture some less amount of that. So it's not going to be an infinite amount of energy. But I think what's more important here is the fact that if this is true, this is a company tooting their own horn, so to speak. But if what they have developed is actually true and they can bring it to market, they're saying just just thinking from a solar perspective, I mean, artificial light's interesting, but I think the solar is the big part. These small spheres, stack them up in a string, hang them wherever, are going to be able to capture more power than a solar panel can at a significantly higher rate, which will solve a lot of problems. I know a lot of people, you think about solar and you start adding up the numbers and what you want to run. And it's like you've got, you might have a whole lot of panels that you either A, don't want to buy, or B, don't have the room to put up. Whether it be on your house or at your bug out location or whatever. But if now you can get smaller devices that can capture just as much or actually 60 times more than a similar size solar panel. So that would be a huge benefit and a huge improvement. So I think that's probably the big deal here.
And
but pulling out your flashlight and making some power might be interesting too.
You would be able to minimize any lost power. So if you have a mall, right, it's full of artificial lights, all sorts of LED lights. You have these balls hanging all over the mall, and then whatever their solar power, these balls are on top powering the whole place. And then the solar balls are inside gathering up the artificial light and then putting it back into the system, minimizing what you are actually using. I wonder if they could end up doing something like that, where the solar powers the lights in the first place, then these things are then gathering that up. And then think about in the future, they're talking about
it's like recycling light, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that would make sense, because you would be able to then use a portion of the light that's obviously not being used, or whatever portion you get out of it, and you reabsorb it. So yeah,
maybe it's not unlimited, but it would be minimizing and maximizing whatever you can get. Think about this in areas where, if it's 60 times more efficient, if you have cloudy areas or something like that where you might get a little less power, something like this could maximize. Even if you get 15 minutes of light, that could equal 10 hours of light somewhere else. So if you have an area like California, which has sun all day, or somewhere else where it's clouds almost all day, you get some good power, but it's not the same. You could have it be equivalent. Another thing is what's the update on the Li-Fi? You guys have probably heard about Li-Fi, but they're going to eventually. They say it will actually our internet will come from our light. Li-Fi is faster, or at least they say it's faster than Wi-Fi, and light would be able to emit an internet signal. I haven't heard much anything about Li-Fi. Have you read anything lately, Dex, about where Li-Fi is, and if it's even, or if it is now out of date or something? Or
no, just Wi-Fi 6 and 7, the new 7 standards coming, but yeah, not Li-Fi.
See, in the future, say if you're in a bathroom or something with some artificial lighting, it doesn't matter what room you're in any kind of building, you would have internet access, because the internet would be coming from the Li-Fi, the lighted emitting Wi-Fi. Or you'd literally get your internet from lights. So I just wonder, in the future, all of this could be worked in coordination with each other. Let's see here. And then thank you, Wings and Wags Patriot. I appreciate that. Listen to Carrie Cassidy's interview with David Adair. He will explain to you how he made endless energy with nuclear fusion or fission. I'm not sure which. Very interesting interview. Well, I'm worried about David Adair. I have followed. I every time somebody comes out with like an unlimited energy thing, you see so many examples of these guys, like the guy that created the car that could run completely off of water. He went to a sales business to talk to people to basically sell his idea. He never came back. A lot of these guys too, they said something like, they made comments basically that, they were sketched out. There's a lot of people that came up with ideas very close to unlimited energy or something that they claimed to be, and they just kind of disappeared. And people think those are crazy theories. Think about the oil companies. Think about the power companies. Think about these things. If we have unlimited free energy, then how are they going to charge you an arm and a leg for it? Same thing with, pharma, right? If you don't have ailments and things that make you sick, then you're not gonna want to pay exorbitant prices for things that fix those ailments. I mean, it's crazy. They don't want us healthy. They don't want us living on free energy, and they want us paying. And then Kat, thank you so much. Mitchmouth, thanks Marf and Dex. Well, thank you, Mitchmouth. Appreciate that. Redonk, Ray Day, Enigma, Carlton, thank you. And before we move on, make sure to go check out My Patriot Supply. If you don't know where to get, this is definitely one of the most affordable ways you can get in bulk freeze-dried food that will last 25 plus years. Again, this is going to be good until 2050s. So the cool thing about freeze-dried food is once you add water or cook in water, it brings almost all of the flavor back. It keeps in almost all of the nutrients. It's a great way to preserve food. They do all of that for you. Then they package it into Mylar bags and then seal it so that you can store it. Again, it's a very, very efficient way to have extra food. And the only downside most people see is, one, if you're going to do it to the time to do it, or two, if you're going to buy it prepackaged, the price. So this is one of the most affordable ways that you can get it in bulk, just as if you go to Costco to get certain things in bulk. This is great because you can get a month or 2 months or 3 months of food at a giant discount. The more that you end up getting, the bigger discount you can get. Again, really, really great service that they provide. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, it has all sorts of different packages. Definitely recommend getting the meat bucket to go with any of these packages, because then you can end up using it for all sorts of the meals that already are in it. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep and you can save up to $200 on certain packages. You can get all sorts of different sales, and all you need to do is use that link. You don't need a code. Just go to marfooglenews.com/prep. And there's other things like the Alexa Pure Pro water filtration system. Again, great filtration system that gets all of the lead, fluoride, chlorine, pharmaceuticals out of your water. So if you're worried about what's in your agua, then make sure to go check that out. It helps us out and it helps you guys out. So again, it's a win-win for everybody. And today we did it's kind of a special video because it's definitely up my alley of interest. I absolutely just get blown away when these companies do just the weirdest campaigns. But it really makes you ask, like, what the heck are they doing? Now, first of all, this is Arby's new profile pic. I'm sure most of you probably know why this is weird. I'm sure most of you are already like, WTF, WTH, WT something. But this wasn't it. They actually paid money to do the Las Vegas the pyramid here, and
Luxor.
What was it? Luxor.
Luxor.
Yeah, the Luxor, to have this eye and the all-seeing eye open, and then the pyramid. Look at that. Is that just not spooky as hell? This is a drone show above the Luxor. I mean, just what in the world? And this is all, and then it goes into it and it says the return is near, right? It says the return is near, and it's all for the return of their potato cakes. Now, if you actually notice their profile pic, it is a potato cake at the top. But whose mind in the PR department, and again, it did its job. They got people talking about it. But is that the only thing? Now, there's a good chunk of people, and I hear them already saying, oh, yeah, well, of course they're doing it. It's a publicity stunt. But it's freaking weird, okay? It is freaking weird. It's just such a weird advertisement, especially the timing of all of this. It makes it into a complete joke when that symbol on all of the dollar bills, when that symbol actually means something, when that symbol has a backstory, and it's not a funny backstory, and it is a very real backstory. What do people see now? It's just a big joke. It's a big joke. Oh, yeah. Oh, you think that those people are in charge? Most really, really, some of the smartest people in the world, they don't only believe it, they know it for a fact because they have done real research, not just looked at somebody else's YouTube video to find out what they know. People that have gone through hundreds of years of written history and found the groups that all of this originates from. This is real history. And it's embedded into our entire country. There's a lot of scary stuff when you scrape the top of the iceberg off. It's just freaky. I mean, this kind of represents an iceberg, right? You only see the tip of the iceberg, but underneath there's so much more. Wouldn't you guys agree? Oh, I just got the worst cramp in the world. Oh. Have you guys ever bent your leg underneath? Oh, and it's my messed up leg. Oh. Oh, isn't that weird talking about this? Oh, that's... Dex, go ahead.
Hey, Adam. So I hope you get better there. Hey, the video though, the video down below, that's the one they launched today. It's got the gentleman in it. I think you paused it a second ago. If you can slide forward in that video towards the end, he's basically, I'll just describe it to you guys. He's going to the window. He's ordering his beef and cheddar, and he goes, "I really want you to bring the potato cakes back." And I'm like, "Sorry, you don't have potato cakes." And then there's this golden light up on the hillside. He runs out of the car and he runs up to this light, and then he's grabbing this spear and he's holding it up, and they're using like this whole notion of ancient times, and I don't know, there's just a lot of interesting references in here. They're getting really edgy with this, and he ends up holding it way above his head.
Do you know what he's doing with his hands?
Yeah, look at what he's doing with his hands. Yeah, I see.
That's a symbol. Jim Carrey did it on. It's the symbol. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and then they name this thing. If you can see it, if you go back to the main Twitter page or X page, you'll see it in the center of the background. It says the order of the potato cakes. So they're just totally embracing this thing big time, and it's a great question to ask. Like, why? Like, why are they doing it? Did they survey their audience, and the majority of their people are, into theories like this, and they wanted to hit a home run with it, or why do they think this was the right path to go? And by the way, the Luxor, they had to pay for that. Did you notice the light was off? Like, the Luxor light is so bright you can see it up in space, and it's always on, at least at night. And for that drone show, it turns off just for them. So that wasn't just let's fly drones over the Luxor.
Millions of dollars to do this ad campaign. Millions. Yeah, it's just like all of the stuff here too. And is that the pinky? Like, isn't that something when the pinky sticks out a little bit further, or they put it out? I don't know if the triangle on the hand is anything, but they looked into this. They actually did research to try to make this make sense, creepy sense. They put is that Michelangelo? What is that man called? The man in the pentagram. That one's that's like straight up a pentagram.
Is it the Centurion Man or something? Or I can't.
Renaissance
I know what you're talking about.
Renaissance Man, maybe. But he's not.
Well, do you see the Arby's? Yeah, go ahead.
But he's not even the same guy. It's like a different.
No. Yeah, it's a version of it. It's their own version. But look at the Arby hat with the Eye of Horus underneath it, over to the right.
Oh yeah,
it's probably underneath your head where you're showing on screen.
Oh yeah. I'm blocking it here. Let's see here. Yeah, that's just it's weird. We talked about this and so much more over on. We talked about Denver Airport. We touched on that. So great video to share over on Marfoogle News. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And if you want to see that video, or if you want to stick around, you can. You can stay in the chat and chill for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. If you want to watch that video and share it, then make sure to click here. I'm not doing anything weird with this. Have a good night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. I never heard them speak a word, and I don't know why. Even when we on high alert, I never heard them speak a word, and I don't know why. Oh, even when